What is going on, everybody? John Impemba here with Howard Bender. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NFL DFS show. It is week 16 of the NFL season. Howard, it is the weekend of Christmas, which means the NFL has decided to break up their slate into like 5 different slates for whatever reason or another. Obviously, we had the usual Thursday night football game. We have 2 games on Saturday. We have a 9-game Sunday slate, and then we have a 3-game Monday slate. So the Sunday main DFS slate is kind of lacking, for the lack of a better adjective to use here. I've been on the watch list. I'm going to be doing the playbook this week as well, filling in for you on that content. So I've been really doing a much deeper dive into this slate than just looking at the quarterbacks like I normally do here. And I got to say, could be better. Could be a better slate than we got for 9 games here on a Sunday.
Yeah, I'll be doing the 3-game Christmas Day playbook. That'll be out on Sunday. So while you guys are all enjoying the games, I'll get you all set and squared away to set up your lineups for the Christmas Day slate there as well. Yeah, listen, this is what happens when, the NFL wants to kind of spread things out. They got to, some extra primetime games. They got to start putting some more marquee players on those oddball slates. They know everybody's going to tune in for Football Sunday.
Right.
That's already, that's a given. So it doesn't even matter what the product is that they put out there on the field on Sunday. As long as they know that there's games going on, fantasy playoffs to happen, DFS contests to play, they're just, whatever. So listen, we roll with the punches and we build winning lineups anyway.
We do roll with the punches, that is for sure. Sunday marquee matchup here on this main slate. It's going to be the Dallas Cowboys versus the Miami Dolphins. It's in Miami. It's a 1.5-point spread. It's a 50.5 game total. That's your 425 game of the week. There are some games here with totals over 40, so it's not as bad as we've seen in the past where we had like basically an entire slate of 36s. We got the Colts and the Falcons there with a 44.5 game total. Seattle, Tennessee is over 40. Cleveland, Houston's over 40. Arizona, Chicago's at 43. So, it's not as bad as we've seen, but some of the talent, some of the teams, and as we get into it, some of the roster builds here, it's going to be kind of interesting to sort of see the direction of where the chalk is, Howard. We have the updated rostership up on Fantasy Alarm right now. So if you are a Fantasy Alarm All-Pro member, you can go check that out. I was surprised to see, I guess, maybe where the field is going at some of the positions here. So we'll just jump into it. We'll break it down for everybody so we can kind of get to the main slate action here. For the DraftKings quarterback position, again, Dak and Tua are your top 2 priced quarterbacks. They are also in the game with the highest game total. What's your opinion of Dallas here on the road? Obviously coming off of a loss there in Buffalo. And then we have Miami here at home against the Dallas defense. Tyreek Hill going to play, but still probably not at 100%. The running game for Miami leading the charge of late. Do you find yourself with some early interest in this matchup at quarterbacks?
I mean, there's definitely some interest in the matchup here. I feel like I've got more interest in Dak than I do in Tua, actually, because I feel like you can run against Dallas, and having Raheem Mostert and or Devon Achane in there. Obviously, Mike McDaniel likes to lead with the run. He likes to establish it and then let that open up the passing attack, because once he's got to, with Waddle and Tyreek Hill, he's got to establish that run first. So that way everybody bites on play action. That's how you get Tyreek Hill all alone, behind Deron Bland or whoever else, they're going to try and cover him for. So I feel like if Miami does that, then it kind of puts Dallas a little bit more on its heels and puts Dak into more of a pass-heavy scheme. They don't have a great run game there for Dallas anyway with Pollard and Dowdle. So, I feel like that's, if I had to pick one of those 2 guys, that's where I would go. But, the problem is if you start investing in this Dallas-Miami game, I mean, just look at the prices across the board for everybody. They're like the top priced players all over the place. So if you want to get invested into that game, you really need to find like some really deep bargains in order to kind of help fit some of these salaries in there.
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, we'll look at some of the rostership here as we work our way down the position. Again, I think some of the ownership is surprising to me. Now, it's the early run here. These obviously get updated throughout the weekend, and we definitely sometimes see some swings at where the field is going. I do like Justin Fields this week at $7,100. My two quarterbacks at the top tier. I was actually leaning a little bit more on the Tua side than the Dak side. Just the presence, I think, of the way that offense is run. Dallas on the road there. I was a little worried about that one, but I didn't really build any lineups with the top two price quarterbacks. I like Fields here against Arizona, $7,100 as like the spend up that I was leaning towards. I know he's been a bit inconsistent, but you do have the rushing potential for him here. Arizona has generally been a cure-all for most offenses this season when it comes to their struggles. I know Cleveland put up a really good fight against Chicago. They had Detroit, another pretty decent defense there. So much easier matchup, and you get them at home here for Chicago. I also think the Bears defense right now could be putting the Chicago offense in some nice positions in this matchup as well, the way they've been playing. And we'll get on the Chicago defense as we move our way through the positions here. But I like Fields. Goff to me is fine as well. I think you have to throw against this Minnesota defense. We saw Jake Browning have a lot of success doing that last week. They have Laporta. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff at $6,900 fit the bill. The cover of my quarterback coach this week is Baker Mayfield. So anytime we're in on Baker Mayfield, it's usually a good thing coming off of a monster performance. Jacksonville's pass defense continues to struggle. Chris Godwin had a big game. We know Mike Evans is a red zone threat. But also this week, and we'll talk about it, the running back position, best matchup on the board for pass catching running backs. And Rachaad White is a very talented pass catching back here going up against Jacksonville. So when I lived in this mid tier, Howard, initially I was like, all right, like definitely like Baker Mayfield. I think that Goff is fine. I liked Fields. Then the ownership came out. And the highest roster quarterback by a lot is Nick Mullins going up against Detroit this week. So I got to get your thoughts, man. Are we buying into what we just saw out of Nick Mullins against Cincinnati, or does this feel like a bad chalk play to you?
I'm not really sure. I think I actually think that it's more like using Mullins because he's got the weapons. He's got Addison, he's got Jefferson, he's got Hawkinson. And, even if you were to use like a naked Mullins, right, that's what's going to allow you to get the Tyreek Hill or the CeeDee Lamb play into your lineup. So, I think that with what people are doing right now is, they're trying to pay down at quarterback, because I like Fields as well. I think Fields is a fantastic play. And I'm happy to build lineups with a Bears stack in there for sure.
And he's a naked QB option as well because of his rushing potential.
Right, because of his rushing yards, right? But so Mullins, I think, is like strictly there because I think people want to try and get some of those top plays in there as well. So I think that's you look at our ownership right now here for DK, and the highest priced top owned guy is Fields, right, at 18.2%. But you look at the rest of this crew. It's got Mullins, it's got Baker. Trevor Lawrence, I don't even know what the fuck he's doing here. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what he's doing here because, I know they're going to try and get him out at practice on Friday, but, very few quarterbacks, with the exception, I guess it was Brock Purdy, who was the last quarterback who was cleared within the same week via concussion protocol. But then, beyond Lawrence is Geno Smith, Joe Flacco, Taylor Heineke is in there as well, right? So, you look at this and it's like everybody and their grandma is paying down at the QB position right now because, they're trying to fit in the prices of, Tyreek, CeeDee Lamb, Jefferson, Hawkinson, like all of these guys are super priced up.
Yeah, and I'll say this, again, given the first initial early look, this is also some of the most consolidated ownership I think we've seen in a little bit, where the field is clearly playing two quarterbacks. Right. And then multi-entry lineup players are kind of sprinkling in their shares of the other quarterbacks that you just kind of ran yourself through here. It's like right now people are paying up for Fields or they're paying down for Mullins, and they are moving on to the other positions here. And again, I think it makes a little bit of sense to maybe go in that direction as well. Because of the way you're going to stack that game, and it has, I think, a 47 game total, Detroit, Minnesota. So, there's certainly some appeal to that matchup as the second highest total on the board there, with Minnesota also being home. But I do like some of the mid-tier options. And like I said, is it likely that Baker Mayfield has another 380-yard, 4-touchdown performance? Probably not. But he has the weapons to do it. He has Mike Evans. He has Chris Godwin. Again, Rashad White, great pass-catching running back. They are at home. CJ Beathard is likely looking like the quarterback for Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence isn't activated. CJ Beathard, kind of like Nick Mullins, is a guy that we've seen have success as a quarterback in the NFL. He even looked kind of okay when he had to fill in for Lawrence a few weeks back when Lawrence hurt his ankle. If that game becomes a bit more competitive and a little bit more back and forth, maybe Baker Mayfield, can give you another 202 score performance and pay off the $6,000 price tag. But I'm largely with the field here. And when it comes to quarterbacking, if you want to throw in Geno Smith because he's got Tennessee and that pass matchup, sure. We know your feelings on Geno Smith this year, Howard. He hasn't really come through for us a lot. The Flacco matchup for me, I get it. The pass attempts have been great, but these have been a bit more competitive games, or they've been trailing. I worry that if it's Case Keenum again and the Browns defense is out there, this game might not be a back and forth game. This might be a Cleveland up ahead, and now they turn to the run, and you don't get 45 pass attempts out of Joe Flacco here. So that's my lone worry when it comes to him there. Any other thoughts on the quarterback position?
No, not really. I mean, I don't think that there's anybody really further down there, but beyond Mullins that, interest me in any way. I don't even want to touch Heineke, I mean, you could talk about the fact that Heineke, the outside corners for Indianapolis are their weakness, and maybe he hits Drake London there or not, but I can't back into that one at all. So if I don't use Mullins, I'm not paying below that cost.
I'm with you. Moving on over to the running back position here. Again, because of the 9-game slate, the highest priced running back is only $7,400 this week, Howard. It is Rashad White, someone that I really am high on this week. If you look at the running back rostership percentages here, I think he's like the third highest rostered running back behind Ty Chandler, who's coming off of a monster game. Chandler down here at $5,600, but not a good matchup to run the football against Detroit here. As you see, in terms of fantasy points allowed to the position, Detroit, the best team in the league. And then a very curious, this one I don't understand. The field is playing Breece Hall. What about Breece Hall recent production? The fact that he started losing snaps to not only Dalvin Cook, but Israel Abanikanda started getting more carries. Like, I'm hoping, or maybe I'm not hoping, that by the end of Sunday, the rostership gets updated and he's moved down. If he's moved up and 30% of the field is playing Breece Hall, I'm going to let them play Breece Hall, and I'm going to go in a different direction. Here we go. I think we lost Howard there for a moment. Here we got him back in. Howard.
I don't know what happened there.
You froze there.
I did. I froze there. I froze because you were talking about Breece Hall, and I was like, I just hate the Jets so much right now.
I don't blame you. Listen, what I was saying was if 30% of the field is playing Breece Hall here, I'm going to let them play Breece Hall. I'm not going to touch this matchup. He's been losing snaps to Dalvin Cook. Now he lost snaps to Israel Abanikanda last week. What about Breece Hall is making people think like, yeah, this is the week we want him?
Because it's a soft matchup. Like that's the thing. Like that's where when the ownership comes into play, you have to understand that there's certain plays out there that people are they're putting into they're setting some lineups, but they're not like locking into these lineups. There's like I want to wait and see. Like if you're putting in like a dummy lineup, right, and you're reserving your spot in a place. And you put Breece Hall in there because, listen, it's Washington sucks. They suck against the run. They suck against the pass. And, with the possibility or the probability that it's going to be Trevor Siemian, you expect the Jets to just go with a run-heavy scheme, right? But Nathaniel Hackett's an idiot. So, I'm not going to sit there and buy into it. if I'm at a spot here for $6,100, if I'm at a spot in a cash game lineup where I'm building it and I'm just want to like keep pace and I'll take the free square, then maybe I'll look at that. But I'm with you. I'm very far out on Breece Hall or anybody for that matter. We've got Jonathan Taylor, who is supposed to come back here at like 18.3%. Are we really buying into Jonathan? Like, how many times did we see, like, Jonathan Taylor get used and then pulled back? Now, I get it. There's no Zach Moss, but Goodson and Sermon are both there. And who's to say that those idiots don't get, a couple of, shares of snaps and things like that? So
I feel that way about a lot of these guys. Bijan Robinson last week lost more touches to Tyler Algier again. Yep. Now, that is essentially cost Arthur Smith his job. I don't imagine he is the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons as soon as the week 18 passes at this point, because just you can't lose to the Carolina Panthers. So, and he didn't use his talented weapons once again. So, but people are playing Bijan Robinson. The cover of this week's watch list, Howard, is one of your favorite plays, though, and Aaron Jones. What I like about Aaron Jones here is it's now his second week back from injury. It's not his first week back from injury. He played just 48% of the offensive snaps last week. I am envisioning that role growing for him here. I know that, again, he is limited. He's always kind of limited on these practice days, especially during the middle of the week here, but seemingly should be good to go. A.J. Dillon's dealing with that broken thumb. He's practicing on a limited basis here. We'll see if whether or not he's going to be active this week or not. But this is a great matchup for the Green Bay Packers. I'm loving the snap share that we're getting from Aaron Jones. I know he's a big part of their passing offense as well. He's $6,400. He's like the 10th price, 11th price running back. I might even be a little bit more than that. So I'm actually buying back into Aaron Jones this week and praying that this isn't the week that he kills me again.
Keep praying. I mean, one of the things that I've kind of looked at over the last couple of days, and I'm gonna pull it up here. The Carolina Panthers, right? Like they're a terrible team, and they lose significant number of games. They've got 2 wins on the season, but last week's game against the Falcons was 9-7. Against the Saints, they lost. What was that? 28-6.
Yeah.
And that 8, and the Saints kind of, they jumped up with like 2 touchdowns late in the game, which seems to be Derek Carr's MO right now, right? It's like when the game is, it's like forget about everything and I'll throw some touchdown passes in the end. But what I'm looking at a lot here for Carolina is how they keep slowing everything down. Like they're really grinding things to a halt. You and I were talking about it before, right? Carolina, what game? Oh, was it Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
Who didn't rush against them in the whole second half. And you were like, well, Carolina's had the ball for like forever.
Yeah, they did.
Look at the games like after that, Titans, Bucks, Saints, Falcons. They're all kind of grinding down to a halt. So while I want to see Aaron Jones do well, this Carolina defense now, since they ended up getting back J.C. Horn and Jeremy Chin, has like all of a sudden it's just all it's done is slow down the pace.
Mm-hmm.
They've slowed down the pace of the games, to a grinding halt. And so the question is will Jones get enough work in order to make that all happen?
Yeah, that's because the other running back I wanted to discuss here is Chuba Hubbard. 3 straight games of 20 plus carries. So how do you keep games close and competitive? When you have the ball, you just run the football. You just keep that defense on the field. Obviously, he's had a ton of success running the football here, and Green Bay is not a good run defense. So I like Chuba Hubbard a lot as well. Now, again, the problem is touchdowns, right? This team, Carolina Panthers, they don't score a ton. So if he's not scoring a touchdown, and then you're really kind of limiting what the upside could be. But obviously, if he can find the end zone like he did against Tampa Bay here, 25 fantasy points, scores a touchdown against Tennessee, 20 fantasy points, doesn't score a touchdown, he gets 11 and 12. So if we can find a way to get him in the end zone here, then there's certainly the nice GPP tournament play at $5,700. He might even be a safe cash game play this week, I think, just from the pure volume of carries that he's getting in a good matchup against Green Bay. So, in this mid-tier range, I liked a lot of going Rachaad White at the top. I like going with Aaron Jones. I like going with Chuba Hubbard. What's your approach with the Miami running backs with Achane and Mostert?
I mean, they're both GPP only plays. I always favor Mostert over Achane. I haven't wavered on this at all this season, have I?
I don't think so. No.
So
except for that one run, I think that the after like the second straight week where Achane went for like 40, you're like, all right, like
right. You gotta buy into it. And then what happened? He got hurt.
Yep.
Right, and then he was lost for a couple of weeks. So. I mean, 170,300, 170,100. I will always pay the extra 200 just to get Mostert. Right? I mean, listen, if you're gonna set multiple lineups, then okay, great. Then then have shares of both. Go ahead and do it. But like, if I'm just sitting there and I'm building one lineup and just throwing a single bullet into the Millie Maker or something like that. If I'm using a Miami running back, it's going to be Mostert because everybody just keeps flocking to Achane.
Right.
Everybody does it, no matter what. It doesn't matter what you've seen on the field. It doesn't matter what the touches look like, what the production has been. Everybody keeps flocking to Achane because of what he did back in like week 2 or week 3.
Right. And we're talking about a running back in Raheem Mostert that has almost 1,000 yards and 20 touchdowns with 3 weeks to go. So
you just set the record for the most rushing touchdowns by a Miami running back in the history of Miami.
Right. And he's got 3 weeks still to play. He's gonna
Larry Zonka, right? Look at what Raheem Mostert has been doing.
Yep. He might get 30 rushing touchdowns, depending on how these weeks go over the next couple of weeks. He's not too far off given the way he's been playing running right now. So I'm with you there as well. Again, both didn't play practice on Thursday. Both are expected to play on Sunday. But given how close the pricing is, Mostert's for sure where I'm going. We did just get word that Brian Robinson Jr. is out for this game. A lot of people fell for the Antonio Gibson trap last week when it was our guy on the dartboard. Chris Rodriguez led the carries here. You did get the 5 targets from Antonio Gibson in that matchup. So it's pretty clear, right? Rodriguez is your Brian Robinson. Antonio Gibson is still your Antonio Gibson. Are you interested in any of these Commanders backs against the Jets run defense here?
I mean, I'd look at Chris Rodriguez as like as a pay down for, just a pay down, and probably on FanDuel more than on DraftKings, just because it's half point PPR over there. But I don't see why you wouldn't use a guy like Chris Rodriguez when you've seen, like, that's the thing, like Brian Robinson out, right? Chris Rodriguez takes over his job. They don't just bump up Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson plays the same friggin' role that he always plays. So I like Rodriguez in this one. Now that news is out, absolutely.
Kenneth Walker hasn't practiced in either of the 2 days here. Zach Charbonnet is 5K. Charbonnet against a Tennessee defense. Would there be any interest here for you at 5K? Should Walker be ruled out?
No, probably not. I don't like using the run defense going up against the Tennessee Titans. I know they haven't been phenomenal, but I'd rather pay down. I'd actually, to be honest, I'm looking, if you're going further than that, Roschon Johnson at 4,800, I'm actually more intrigued by, because Arizona's terrible. And, I think that we could be seeing, maybe some more checkdowns and some more plays out of Roschon Johnson than anything else. I mean, Deonta Foreman's in there, but he's questionable. So I don't know what happens with Foreman. If Foreman plays, then maybe I just go to Foreman at 4,700 as opposed to Roschon Johnson. But until I get clearance on Foreman, Johnson's somebody I'm going to look at.
Yeah, it's a massive total in this running back situation. Cleo Herbert had just 6 for 8 yards. Deonta Foreman had 6 for -6 against Cleveland. And then Roschon was the only one with a little bit more success, but better matchup for them running the football here. Barring injury, I don't really have interest in anybody else that far down. Was there anybody else on your radar, or is that it?
No, that's it.
All righty. Wide receiver position, Tyreek Hill is $9,600 with that questionable tag. CeeDee Lamb is $92. Amon-Ra St. Brown, $1,000 cheaper at $8,200, and Justin Jefferson at $81. Looking at the rostership for the wide receiver position, we mentioned this already. A lot of people are getting to this Minnesota team here. Justin Jefferson is your highest rostered wide receiver this week. 7 for 84, 10 targets. Jordan Addison was your slate breaker, though, on the Saturday slate last week here. But good to see Jefferson play the whole game, get the target share. Do you find yourself going right back to the well here? Or do you think Addison's still a viable pivot?
I mean, I think Addison's a fine pivot here. I mean, again, it's, Jefferson's still going to be the lead dog in that team. And I think that what we saw last week was a heavy lean against him, which just opened things up for Addison a little bit more. I mean, there's like that piece of me that just, you know me, man. Yeah. I hate going back to what somebody did last week, right? Like, I hate investing in Nick Mullins. I mean, we'll see a bunch of Nick Mullins and Jordan Addison this week because that's what mindless sheep do. They look at what, who scored the most last week, right, and then they go back to that player again this week. So I have a hard time doing it, but
I hear you. Jefferson is there again. I'm on Ross St. Brown coming off a 100-yard game. I definitely like him in this spot as well. Jalen Waddle coming off of a monster game, 8 for 142 and a touchdown. We talked a lot about this, right? The Jets slot corners have kind of, everybody likes Michael Carter, but slot receivers, for whatever reason, just continue to do damage against the Jets there. Do you think if you had to pick, I guess, a Tyreek Hill versus Jalen Waddle this week against Dallas?
I mean, I'll always side with Tyreek. Right? I mean, it makes no sense to go against what he's done, right? As long as he's healthy, if he's out there, then yeah, I'm playing him. Waddle was great, and I loved it, right? But Tyreek is he's just a whole special being of his own.
I agree. Working our way down again, Mike Evans had the touchdown last week. Could have had 2. Again, got missed in the end zone there. The week before that, I watched that game very frustrated. Most of these times, again, Baker Mayfield just missed him. That's what happens with Baker Mayfield. He just will miss open wide receivers at times. He is getting priced up, but it's a good matchup for him. Michael Pittman returned to practice today, so that he should be good to go in this spot against Atlanta. You got DJ Moore up to $6,900 here. Obviously, super good run of games here. Fell off a little bit against Cleveland, but Arizona is priming for a good bounce back spot.
Yeah, Arizona is definitely primed for a good bounce back spot for him. I'll definitely have. I don't know if I'll go full stack with Fields and Moore and like say Cole Kmet.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll do the full thing, but I'll probably have some good Justin Fields just paired up with DJ Moore. It'll probably be like I'll probably do like one cash game lineup where I use Fields and then one cash game lineup where I'll pay down from Mullins and just see which one I like to the build more.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's certainly a good strategy to go about. He is the second highest rostered wide receiver on the slate for that reason. The third highest rostered slate is none other than Calvin Ridley. Now, 25 targets over the last 2 weeks is great. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be, whether it's Trevor Lawrence or CJ Beathard here. The matchup against Tampa Bay is super. Tampa Bay secondary has been very poor lately. Obviously, the production has not matched the target share, but it's been Cleveland, it's been Baltimore, 2 tougher matchups for opponents' passing offenses here. Are we going back to the Calvin Ridley well here? Obviously, he started off great. He's had some big weeks. He's had some not so big weeks here. Are you a believer in the target share at $6,300?
If Trevor Lawrence plays, I'm in on Calvin Ridley. If it's CJ Beathard, I'm out.
Okay. Good enough to know. Metcalf, Lockett, I kind of throw them in the same category. It's a Tennessee matchup. They're certainly all viable to just have that big home run play with Geno Smith there. So if you want to throw them in tournaments, certainly fine with that. Yeah, Metcalf's going to come out of the season again with like 70 catches, 1,100 yards, and like 10 scores. And it's not going to feel like it, right? Because it feels like more weeks than not, he's giving you like meh production here. So, but the end of the season scorecard's going to look pretty good for the guy. Anybody else in this mid-tier range for you? I have a lot of Garrett Wilson in some early lineup builds.
Do you? Because you love Trevor Siemian so much?
Well, this is where I'm at with it, right? I'm a believer sometimes in just the talent of the wide receiver in certain matchups. And Washington is so damn bad at covering. I've never seen a defense, the wide receivers, more open in my entire life consistently than I've seen the Commanders do it this year. Cooper Kupp last week was there wasn't a defender within 10 yards of him. How do you lose Cooper Kupp when you're defending the Rams? Like we watched the DJ Moore game on prime time, TV. He's the only wide receiver the Chicago Bears had, and they lost him 4 times to the point that he had 200 yards receiving. It feels like at one point in this game, they're going to lose Garrett Wilson, and it's just going to be up to Trevor Siemian just to put the ball on him, and we're going to get like a 60-yard touchdown. So I have Garrett Wilson in lineups this week. It could hurt. It certainly could. But I mean, we had 9 for 108 against Houston. I granted that was with Zach Wilson, but I mean, like, this is at home against Washington. This feels like a week where Garrett Wilson gives you one of those big "I'm better than you are" weeks.
It's definitely possible. I would throw him in as as a one-off if I'm building multiple lineups just to see. It's so tough sometimes when you sit there because when you look at a team as craptastic as the Jets are, right? Just because you're putting them in front of a bad defense doesn't mean that like suddenly the offense is that much better. Like we've seen, right? We've seen teams that just play down to their opposition's level. And I do feel like this is something that the Jets could do, especially if you're sitting with Trevor Siemian under center.
How much more down can the Jets offense play? We're literally talking about the worst offense in football against the worst defense in football.
Yeah.
So who's playing down to who, and how bad does that even look? Right. So again, I am just purely going on the fact that there's going to be a play where the corner thinks he's playing zone and the safety thinks they're playing man, and all of a sudden Garrett Wilson is just doing jumping jacks at like the 40-yard line, waiting for the ball to be thrown to him.
And Trevor Siemian overthrows him by 10 yards.
Probably, but it's going to happen in this game. They are, I guarantee it, they are going to lose Garrett Wilson on a play in this game, and it's just going to be relied upon the quarterback to just put the ball on him to make a play. So okay. I will eat my words because I'm putting a Jet in my lineup this week, but I've just have convicted myself into believing that Garrett Wilson's going to make a play this week. So
I will think about putting him into a lineup. You know what? Because I've been building a lineup as we've been talking here and going through it. I'm going to put Garrett Wilson into this lineup right now for you. Just for you.
I appreciate that. I don't really have much interest in the next kind of group of guys, though. Downs, Reed, Dubs, don't like the pass.
Wow, I just got like several laughing emojis at me when I put in Garrett Wilson.
You got an automated prompt being like, "Are you sure?" And it's like, wait, DraftKings doesn't have this. What? It's like Netflix when they ask you, "Are you still watching this show?" Because you've been doing it for like 12 hours. And like,
are you sure you want to use a Jet?
Yeah, you sure? You click yes, and another pop-up's like, really? Question mark?
Oh, dude, I've got a lineup here that is as ugly as it gets right now. You're gonna love it.
Love it. Yeah. So Downs, Reed, Doves, Brown, London not in. Hollywood Brown's out. I guess so. Like the Arizona offense just kind of looks gross to me. I like, is JSN like the next wide receiver I would consider? Like maybe.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I would look at him. I would look at Elijah Moore before any of those other guys. But like to your point earlier, though, I don't necessarily know if you need to use a guy like Elijah Moore, especially if Joey Flacco is not going to be throwing, countless times. The further we go down into this wide receiver position, the uglier it actually gets.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, serious ugliness here. I'd be intrigued by Michael Wilson for Arizona. With Hollywood Brown out, Michael Wilson healthy intrigues me because Chicago's secondary is bad, like real bad.
They are getting a little bit better, though.
A little bit, but
the last couple of weeks, the Bears' defense has been pretty damn good. In terms of like defensive stats, to me, that doesn't always translate to like defense allowing offense, but they've been getting sacks and interceptions pretty regularly there. I hear the Michael Wilson thing.
You're not into it. That's cool.
I mean, the problem is there's only a couple of viable options down here, right? Parker Washington is someone that people are looking at as a possible value play. Now, Coop is not as in on Parker Washington. He says he's not the guy that gets the snaps, but he's been getting the targets. So, he's $3,800.
Who's he like, Jamel Agnew?
No, it's I don't even know the guy's name. I forget it. He went off on it on the Quick Out Fantasy Show. What was the guy? The wide receiver?
Tim Jones?
Yes, Tim Jones, who didn't play, but he's like, Tim Jones is the one that gets the snaps. And I was like, Parker Washington's getting targets, and Zay Jones is doubtful. So I am more in on Parker Washington and Jamal Agnew, but don't be surprised if on the Sunday morning show he's mentioning Tim Jones to you.
Well, and the funny thing is that sometimes, listen, I love Coop, but sometimes you got to slap him upside the head because it's not just about snaps. You know what? You know why Tim is getting all those snaps right now? Because he knows how to block downfield.
Mm-hmm.
That's why certain guys get so many snaps. We've seen it a ton of times before. Where why is this guy seeing 85% of the snaps in this offense? Because he knows how to block.
Yeah. He's the Byron Pringle, right?
Right, exactly. Pringle seeing 68% of the snaps. Yeah, and he's got one target. So to your point, yeah, I mean, you can look at it here and say, all right, Tim Jones got a 35% snap share. Parker Washington still got a 45% snap share last week. And guess what? He saw 6 targets to none for Tim Jones.
Right.
So I'm with you on the Parker Washington over Tim Jones. I just think that we all get screwed by Jamal Agnew.
Probably. And I mentioned that as well. Listen, I'm like, Parker Washington is already playing. If Zay Jones is out, what's to say that Jamal Agnew doesn't get more of a workload than he got last week, right? And he got a touchdown on that play. Of course, if CJ Beathard is a quarterback, who knows who CJ Beathard is throwing to? Maybe it helps Parker Washington if CJ Beathard is a quarterback. We talk all the time. Who do these backup quarterbacks spend their time on the practice field with? I wonder how much of it is Parker Washington here. Any other wide receivers for you?
Who actually, believe it or not, I have a little bit of interest in is Treylon Burks at 3,100. I mean, it's pretty close to min price there. You saw Burks starting to get some work last week. Now we got to see what's going on with Levis and is he going to be able to play with the ankle? But Burks is suddenly becoming that guy who, is getting those deep targets downfield. Maybe he sets up too many Derrick Henry 1-yard touchdowns. Or he finds his way into the end zone. But I'm actually very intrigued by Treylon Burks. I really liked what I saw from him this past week, actually.
Yeah, I agree. We know he's a big guy that can make some plays. They just need a quarterback that can get the football on him. So we'll see what happens there. What did who was the guy that I just passed by? What did Mooney end up doing? He had 8 targets. He's got 15 targets the last 2 weeks. Does that pop for you at all here?
It does. Obviously, I mean, they need somebody else to take some of the pressure off of Moore and Kmet, but
he's not catching them. He almost had the Hail Mary.
He's not catching them, but he's seeing those targets.
Well, that wasn't that our thing with Elijah Moore all season long. His man's got
he's getting 8-9 targets and coming away with 3 catches.
Right. So he's $3,300. If you wanted to make a multi-line, he's your 1 of 20 lineup build guy, but.
Right.
He's in there. Chalk tight end of the week is Trey McBride. You mentioned all the lack of wide receiver options in Arizona. Everybody is just gravitating toward. He's almost double the rostership of the next tight end here. So, I mean, I asked Coop this, and I want to get your take as another tight end, as the original tight end whisperer here. Seasonal fantasy question for next season: where does Trey McBride rank for you?
Where does he rank for me next season? He probably ranks for me in the top 6 or 7 tight ends overall.
I asked Coop if he would be a top 3 tight end option. You take Kelsey, and then is there a legitimate conversation of Andrews, McBride, Hawkinson, right?
Laporta.
Laporta, yeah. I think all those guys are in some real conversations there as the number one, as a number 2 tight end pick, number 3 tight end pick there. So, anyways, a lot of fields playing him against Chicago here. David Njoku is getting a lot of love as well, obviously coming off the weeks that he has had with Flacco. Again, in order for Cleveland to get a big lead, more likely than not, they have to score first. So maybe David Njoku is the one to put those points on the board, but that's where the field is going at their tight end position. I still like Laporta, Hawkinson as well. If you want to pivot off the Super Chalk McBride against Chicago here, both of these guys are in pretty good spots.
Yeah, listen, I think, Hawkinson is definitely somebody who, continues. I mean, he's not, it's kind of funny. He doesn't have every once in a while he has like the game of games and you're like, oh shit, it's amazing. But then, you see a lot of kind of mid-level performance. And I think that's kind of where people kind of lose their steam with Hawkinson because you've got Jefferson and Addison there that he suddenly becomes, sort of a third fiddle. So I actually more like Hawkinson as like the contrarian play this week to people using McBride, people using Laporta. I'm also intrigued by Evan Engram against Tampa Bay. They've been terrible. They funnel everything into the middle of the field. They struggle against the tight end. And I think Engram continues to get, the targets. And with Zay Jones out, Engram's been the one who's seen like that uptick. It's Parker Washington, but it's also Engram who's seeing that extra work there. So, I like spending up for some of these tight ends. You don't always want to have to, but I actually do like, all of these guys, the top 5 who are listed right here. And then, you dive in further, and I don't hate Ferguson. I don't hate Kmet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's probably where I sit with far as tight ends go. Like, you look further down the list, and it's pretty ugly.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing, right? So Ingram's interesting. Obviously, if guys are out, I agree with you. Kate on, obviously, Chikakonkwo, some people getting there for some value. Tucker Kraft had an okay game. If all those wide receivers are out, Watson, Reed, maybe Tucker Kraft, even though it's a tough matchup against Carolina, but I'm kind of with you here. There's not a lot of value that I'm looking at when it comes to this tight end position here.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can chase touchdowns if you want, and see maybe somebody pops. But overall, yeah, I'm with you. I just give me the guys who are getting the targets right now. Give me the guys who are performing at the moment.
Chick is your chalk value tight end this week at $3,100. So
yeah.
Defenses, as I mentioned to you, the Browns at $3,400. I feel like we say this almost every show. It's like, why are the Browns always so cheap? They're just hanging around this mid to low 3K tier most weeks. They're on the road. I know everyone's like, oh, well, they're hurt. They're missing guys. It's like, okay, well, they're still sacking and turning the football over because they're just a good defense, and they might have Case Keenum running up against them here this week. So I like Cleveland a lot. I also like the Bears at $2,800. This one is confusing to me. Look at the numbers the Chicago Bears defense has been putting up lately. They're home. They're facing Arizona, who's going to be without their top wide receiver and a quarterback that I think is questionable when it comes to throwing the football, as it is anyways, in Kyler Murray. I don't think mobility is going to be an issue. This is the defense that practices against Justin Fields. Isn't mobility sort of something they should be familiar with when it comes to defensive schemes here? Interceptions, defensive touchdowns last week, fumble recovery, sacks. I have the Bears in all 3 lineups that I've built this week.
Okay. I can't hate on that. I mean, listen, again, we identified the Colts a few weeks ago as a team that, everybody should pay attention to because of what their sack totals look like. And lo and behold, now the Colts are the second highest priced defense on the list. So, yeah, I mean, it's a matter of staying ahead of the DFS sites. Right, because if the Bears defense does have another really good game, I don't even know who they play next week, but they'll be listed among the top. Atlanta. Oh, then they'll be a top 5 costing defense next week.
Yep. I picked them up in seasonal leagues for the playoffs that I'm in. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna ride the Bears D. Let's see if we can get it going here. So
there you go.
The Jets, though,
intriguing,
are the highest rostered defense this week.
I mean, it's 3,100. Again, it's whatever fits your budget. right? Because again, we're all just sitting here. We're oh well, we're going to look at game totals and the score is going to stay down. But you know what? Even if the score stays down, if your defense isn't like creating turnovers, sacking the quarterback, then you're not really scoring much in the way of points. So I like the Jets defense here against a shaky Sam Howell and Washington Commanders team. I don't absolutely love them. I'm not like you're very confident with the Bears defense and you feel very strongly about the Bears defense. I don't think there's a single defense on this slate that I feel that strongly about. So,
Yeah, the Bears are coming in at 10. I mean, again, early rostership percentages here, but the majority of the field is finding their way to the Jets. It's 25%. The Bears are coming in under 10%. So, I mean, if I can get that leverage while saving $300, I'm in for it. The Carolina Panthers are the fourth highest roster. They're $2,400. The Buccaneers are the second highest. They're at 2,600. So obviously, people thinking maybe no Trevor Lawrence, go to Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay's defense has been bad. And I don't think Beathard is the worst of the worst when it comes to backup quarterbacks. What do you make of Carolina, though, chalking in there against Green Bay here?
Well, again, I mean, it's, we don't know what's going on with the receivers. We're still waiting on that. Aaron Jones is coming back, but A.J. Dillon's going to be out with that thumb issue, right? He's got a broken thumb. So I think, and again, what we're looking at here with Carolina is the way they've slowed everything down over the last couple of weeks. They're not a huge turnover team. They've got, you look at their sack numbers right there.
They don't sack anybody.
Yeah, those are not good sack numbers at all. So you're you're basically hoping that Jordan Love just, puts up that stinker of a game that we've seen him do on the road. There's no doubt about that. And then, you hope for like a pick six or something like that. I have no problem using the Panthers defense against the Packers because I don't think the Packers are they're not a dominant team.
No.
Like I'm never going to use a defense against the Niners, against the Cowboys, against the Dolphins, right? Any of these teams that have shown the capability of putting up 30 plus points without batting an eye. I'm not playing a defense against those teams, but anybody else I think out there is definitely vulnerable.
I agree. Panthers have one game this season with over 10 fantasy points. I can't go here. I get their.
I'm using them now. Now I'm using them.
I can't do it. They don't sack the quarterback. You need to hope that they shut out the Green Bay Packers here and then get
a pick six
to get 12 fantasy points. I can't.
Give me a pick six. Give me a pick six, and they give up like.
But they don't even get interceptions. Like they're not that team. I don't know.
They've been without J.C. Horn and Jeremy Chin for the majority of this season. I'm doing it out of spite now for you. Not only, you know what? I'm going to build this lineup here that I'm screwing around with. Not only will it have Garrett Wilson in there for you, but I'm going to use the Panthers defense.
All right. Well, I'll plug Garrett Wilson in now. We'll plug the Panthers defense. I would have gone the Bears defense, but that's fine. Let's see. Garrett Wilson, Panthers. You're going to have like $1 billion left over at this point.
I'm definitely not going to have $1 billion.
Who's your quarterback?
Give me Nick Mullins. Everybody loves Nick Mullins.
Yeah, Mullins. I thought we were going Fields. Already threw me for a loop. All right.
Well, listen, because this is your GPP like dart throw lineup. Like if you're going like single entry or you're building multiple lineups and you want to do this, because I'm with you. I'd much rather have Fields in there. I would much rather have some safety, but I haven't really played around with many lineups right now. Again, you did the watch list this week for me, so it's kind of pulled my attention a little bit, south. So this is your semi-chalky GPP tournament lineup that is as ugly as you could possibly get. This is like my brother's 7th grade girlfriend ugly.
Jesus. All right, let's go running back then. Who do we have?
Well, we need something coming back because there's going to be a Minnesota stack here.
Okay.
Just so you know. So we're going to bring back Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
Right? Get yourself some Chuba Hubbard in there, John.
Yeah. Good there.
Right? You got Justin Jefferson.
J-Jet. Got it.
All right. I love DK Metcalf this week. I do. I got to get him in there.
Okay.
As part of my my Viking stack, I have to have TJ Hawkinson here, don't I?
Yep.
Leaves me $3,200. Let's get a little correlation coming back off of DK Metcalf and give me some Treylon Burks.
I thought we were about to go Chicago. Treylon Burks works.
How gross, how disgusting, how awful is this lineup? And yet this lineup, you look at it and you're like, well, shit, some of this shit could hit.
I mean, it definitely can hit for 100%. Yeah, I mean, listen, Burks is definitely a GPP play. I think Chig is a little bit safer, and you can get him in your you can get him in there too to double tight end it. But yeah, if you're playing the Panthers team, man, that's what
do you want to build, since we've got a couple of minutes here? Do you want to build like a serious lineup now? I mean,
sure.
I'll play this lineup. I'll throw this lineup into a single entry, but we obviously we want Fields.
Yeah.
We want DJ Moore, don't we?
Yeah. I'm just plugging in my guys here. DJ Moore, Fields, Wilson. All right. Where are we going next?
I don't know. You tell me. Where are we going next? Do you want to go with, I'll tell you what, here you go. At tight end, let's go with Komet, and then let's have Trey McBride coming back for the dual tight end.
So we're going to 3-stack this Bears team here.
You're going to 3-stack this Bears team with Trey McBride coming back.
67.50 for running backs. We got, let's see, Rashad White, $6,100 gives us Chuba Hubbard. There we go.
Ah, look at that horrible Parker Washington in the middle of that shit.
Well, I mean, we got some money if we wanted to play around with it.
What do we got?
Probably nothing. 4,200.
Oh yeah, we don't have anything.
Yeah, Parker Washington.
You Parker Washington.
Parker Washington it is. Unless you wanted to go run Dolly.
No. Ew.
The problem is, like, I'm playing the Bears defense, so like throwing McBride on the comeback, I feel like hurts me here. So.
Well, yes, it does. That definitely does. But then take out Komet and don't stack. Don't overstack the Bears, so you don't have to worry about what's coming back on that.
Let's go value tight end, $7,400 for a flex play.
Put Engram in there instead of Okonkwo. Come on.
Why? What's wrong with Chig?
Because
his name. But I have Parker Washington in here already.
Oh, all right. So don't use Engram then. All right, good. Use Chig then if you want.
I don't know what all the Chig Okonkwo hates for.
Because what's Chig done?
He's you like Metcalf. We'll go Mostert for now. What do you mean what's Chig done? 6, 9, 9, 8 the last 4 weeks, $3,100. You know? Let's get Metcalf. I actually like Metcalf. That's a good one. 700 more. We got a $3,800 tight end. We don't. Not really.
Kate Otten, isn't that your boy?
Eh.
But Baker's throwing him the football.
Nah, not really.
And you like Baker.
41. We got a 41. 41 doesn't do us anything either. You're just kind of a tough price point here. 74. Like, I wish we could just find like $200 to play like Jefferson or something here.
Well, why don't you go Chig and Aaron Jones and then move around Parker Washington, I guess. I don't know.
Nah.
No, you like him too much.
We'll just live with it. We'll just live with the money. $700 to play with. Does 45 get us anything off Parker Washington? JSN? Double up Seattle here?
No. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
Wide receiver. Let's go Metcalf.
What if you double tight end it? Chig Okonkwo and give me somebody else.
Chris Rodriguez.
Oh, if you got 45, Rodriguez fits there.
Yeah, we'll do Komet. There you go.
Oh, there you are. Look at that. So now
we figured it out.
Now we're 3-stacking Bears without anything coming back on.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's okay. All right, just an example for everybody here. Playbook will be out. Watch list will be out on Saturday. Example lineups out on Sunday. I'll be in the live stream from 9 to 10 and 11 to 12. Bender and Coop 10 to 11 on Sirius XM Fantasy. If you have any questions, hit us in the Discord. If you haven't already become a Fantasy member, the scroll's been going on the entire show, but if you need it for the visual effect here, we do have the holiday sale going on right now. First month is $4 of the month-to-month price. So you can scan that QR code. You can go to fantasy.com/Santa, use promo code Santa. That is $1 a week for the first month of the All-Pro package. If you hate it, you can cancel. Don't get charged anymore. But I think you'll love it, and you'll stick with us here through the fantasy baseball season. Fantasy baseball draft guide is expected to come out during the month of January, which means if you sign up now, you'll get access to the fantasy baseball draft guide as well. Again, $4 for the first month. Hard to beat the deal that's going on right here. You get access to all premium content, not just NFL, baseball, NBA, NHL, NASCAR starting back up, PGA starting back up, UFC is always going on, and you get our premium Discord access as well. So try us out. Just $4 for the first month with our holiday sale. Go to fantasystorm.com/Santa, promo code Santa to sign up today. Bender, final words for the people at home?
You know what? Have some fun with this slate, right? You got a 2-game Saturday slate, a 3-game Christmas Day slate. So, I don't know. Maybe with how ugly Sunday is, I wouldn't be over investing my money, right? Maybe,
Sure.
Save some of that Christmas stocking money that you get for next week.
Sure. I would agree with you on that one. All right, everybody. Good luck this weekend. We'll talk to you on Sunday. Get us in Discord. Find us on Twitter. We'll catch y'all later.